What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Coach Zach podcast. If you can tell, I am not in the studio today. I'm recording from a private room in the library, and I'm here with a special guest, Becca Ribbing. Becca is author and coach of The Clarity Journal with over 100 thought-provoking writing prompts and quotes, unique insights designed to help you get out of your own way, and a path forward that incorporates your strengths, dreams, and goals. This sounds right up my alley. Happy to have you, Becca. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Absolutely, my pleasure. So tell us a little bit about the most common ways in which people feel stuck.
Oh man, do we have like 3 hours? I think that it usually ends up boiling down to you feel stuck when you're not really clear whether what you want to do is actually the right step. I find that when I end up diving into it with clients one-on-one, where they're stuck is that they have something they want to do, and then all of the noise in the background, all of their parents, their friends have different ideas for themselves, and they don't have the inner strength to go for where
Mhm.
they want to actually go.
Yeah. Where do you think that inner strength comes from? Is it bravery? Is it courage? Is it just getting out of your comfort zone? What's a common theme that you see is a recipe for success when it comes to actually taking action on the things we want to do but feel stuck?
I think that it's actually more like self-love. You kind of get stuck in the self-love, self-compassion. Y- You're not putting your own voice first, and you're listening to other people. And sometimes also, I mean, there is definitely a bravery part, because sometimes it's that you have never even articulated what you want to do to those people, or if you have articulated it, you've done it in a way that makes it seem kind of like, oh well, maybe, but like gives them an out to say, oh no, that's a stupid idea. Like you're not being forceful, powerful, or authentic about it. And so I think that it's like this really feeling strong within yourself that whatever you choose will end up being the right thing, and that you can make it the right thing. Because I think that that's the other place where people do get stuck, is that we have all of these options. In the modern world, we have almost unlimited options for us. And so when we are trying to decide, we want option A to be 100% the right answer, and all of the other options to be, 20%, like failing grade type options. And that's not how we actually work in real life. Every option that you have laid out before you is probably somewhere in the realm of between 60% and 95% right for you. But there's no time in your life that you're going to hit such clarity that every other option just seems foolish or
Right.
seems like just stupid. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. There is never, ever, ever going to be a point in time where everything is going perfectly as planned,
Right.
right? And I love how you mentioned about, people sometimes don't even have I don't even know what the right word is, to tell other people, and radical transparency on what you feel stuck with or feel stuck behind is something that's really important. And not only being honest to other people, but more importantly, being honest to yourself. If there's something that you want to go after, whether it's move to Bali or start a new career or get a divorce, right?
Right.
Any of these things is, you have to be honest with yourself, right?
Well, you have to give yourself actually the time and space to really explore it. I think that's another thing. It's like when we are stuck, we start gravitating to the phone. Like, we're on our computer all the time, we're on our phone all the time. We really don't ever need to sit and just be with ourselves anymore. And I'm not like a big believer in like, oh, technology is evil, boogeyman, blah, blah, blah. But on the other hand, it is a really good self-soothing mechanism, so that if you're feeling stuck and you're just constantly turning on Netflix or turning on a podcast and kind of outsourcing that decision instead of like really focusing on it, I think we really don't remember or realize, depending on our age, just how much thinking you used to have to do just in your daily life
Right.
before we had the phone. Because before we had the phone, you were sitting in the line at the grocery store and you were just sitting there like thinking. Now I'm sitting there scrolling on Twitter half the time, you know? And it does mean that you need to be really conscientious about giving yourself the time and space to sit and think, which I think that really like dovetails really well into my book. So the clarity journal is meant to make you sit down and think, but any type of journaling does this. I remember when I was in drug education health class in high school, I didn't take very much out of that, but one thing I took out of it was that the teacher mentioned that if you were trying to quit smoking, to have something in your hand like a toothpick or a pencil or a pen. People start clicking pens, um because you're actually physically used to having that cigarette in your hand, and that in and of itself becomes an addiction. And so when things start getting stressful, you automatically start looking for things in your hand. Well, we do that the same thing with our phone. When things start getting a little uncomfortable, I can tell I start like kind of reaching towards my phone. And when you're journaling, it gives yourself the space. You have something in your hand. You're not like really like looking for the next thing. You're actually sitting down with the physical object and writing it down. And it does help center in a way that I think sometimes is hard when you're in an uncomfortable spot. I think that it's really easy to sit and think with yourself, if everything's going great. But when things are not going great, when you are stuck, it's really easy to think that you're really going in deep and thinking about these things. But really going in deep kind of requires you to look at the problem in lots of different ways and to take the negative comments that other people have and the positive comments that other people have and all of your different positive and negative thoughts and really synthesize them. And that takes time. And I think that we're not really used to doing that. And before the advent of technology, I don't think we really had to force ourselves to do it in the same way we do now.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Technology is a huge factor and a impactful variable when it comes to our life and especially getting out of our way. So, what's some pragmatic, very simple advice that you can give someone that is feeling stuck? And obviously, you don't have all the context behind their situation because there's hundreds of people that are listening and everyone is in a unique circumstance. But what is some common exercises or practices that someone can do to at least start getting the ball moving?
So I would say start with the positive. Really focus on everything that's going on that is actually going well, because I think that also when we are stuck, we tend to focus on that negative thing that we're trying to decide about or trying to figure out. And we kind of throw out the baby with the bathwater. And so when you can focus on what is going well in your life, you start actually pulling in answers like, oh, right, I need to maintain my work life balance. Say you have a job with good work life balance, like that, I need to keep. Like, as soon as you start becoming more empowered, like, I need to keep this, I need to keep that. Like, I can find solutions to what is going on that really take in the full picture instead of just focusing on the negative. Because sure, the negative might be really negative. As you said, I don't know what's going on in someone's life. You may be in a miserable or abusive marriage. Like there are a lot of different options here. But when you can actually start with what you want to keep, I think it makes it easier to move forward into what you need to change.
Love that. Love that. Figuring out what you need to keep. Because even though you feel stuck, there are some good things going on in your life,
Right.
whether it's your health or your financial situation or your relationships or the peace and joy that you have in your heart through a
Well,
daily practice of meditation and journaling.
and I think that it also all goes back to like self-love and self-compassion. The more you can actually focus on what you love and what you need to keep, I think the easier it is to really embrace that the things that aren't going well need to change because you are worth it.
Right. I love that. Great advice. I'm trying to. It's ironic because I have a lot of coaches on my a lot of coaches on the podcast. This podcast is about physical health, mental health, wellness, spirituality, personal growth, self-development, and anything under those umbrellas. So I like talking to doctors. I like talking to coaches. I like talking to mindfulness and meditation teachers and gurus. Love having authors on my podcast. And every single time I have someone on the podcast, I pivot the conversation into, how does this affect my life? So, I'm sitting here and when I was doing a little more research on your website, beccaribbing.com, and I was looking at your socials, I was like, all right, how am I going to explain to her how I feel stuck? And I was like, where do I feel stuck? And this is me being very transparent for all you guys listening on Apple and Spotify. And if you could subscribe and leave a comment, that'd be great. To tell you guys that I'm kind of feeling stuck in a way, but not so much stuck, but just a little uncertain of what should be my next move for over the past 2 years. Once COVID started, I'm gonna use the word again. I pivoted into the online coaching space and built the podcast and the YouTube channel and a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of. Actually, today the article came out, one of the top 20 coaches of 2022 to look out for, which I'm super appreciative and grateful for. It's super awesome. Thank you to the Entrepreneurship Herald for writing the article and doing the interview. But I wanted to figure out what my next step is. And as I'm trying to scale my coaching business, I'm not sure if I need to double down on my own personal growth, which is a lot of the stuff that right. And I can see your reaction. Like, it's like, hey, at what point and we're never going to stop, turning our attention inwards and being better every single day and developing our skills and strengthening, our mental fortitude and all that, and our physical health and all the things that we need to do for ourselves. But at what point do I shift the balance beam to more business related time commitments,
Mm-hmm.
or do I completely do a left turn? And do I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to every single personal growth conference. I'm going to go to every single meditation retreat. I am going to take substantial amount of time off from work and dive really deep into my own personal growth. And then it gets to the question of, well, why am I doing all this in the first place? Like, am I focusing on myself and my own personal growth and my self-development so I can build a 7-figure business and write charity checks and pay off my parents' house and buy people Starbucks every day? Like, is that why I'm doing it? And that would be really cool. And I would love the ability to do all those things, and I would make a huge positive impact on the world. Even though I'm already doing that, I can make a bigger impact if I were to create more revenue. Or am I doing this because I just want to be the best person I can be? Because I want to step into the greatest version of myself, which serendipitously, and this is all coming full circle of why I like coaching in the first place. As I've been selling real estate for 7 years, and that's been my main source of income. And I'm going to get to the point. Sorry, I'm talking so long, but this is all relevant to the story. The coaching space is great. I love working remotely. I like putting out content, but I really do this because I have a stronger sense of responsibility and obligation to be the best Zach I have to be every single day. As coaches, and Becca, as coaches, we are a fraud if we're not investing in our own personal growth and our own heart and our own compassion and our own intelligence and strengthening our own skill sets. So I think I'm stuck. What do you think?
Well, I think that first of all, it's just so touching, right? Like, I mean, just to even have the ability to make these decisions. But I guess my question to you is, can you do both? Is there a way to integrate both?
I think the obvious answer is yes. But I think we all are trying to figure out what to do with our time and energy.
Right.
As an entrepreneur, like, should you be writing more books? Should you be coaching more clients? Should you be, what are your thoughts on, not my specific situation, because I don't want to make this too much about me, but from the context that you've gathered around what I've said, what advice would you give to me?
I'd give you the advice of really diving in deep here. Like, going like, and it's not going to be able to happen totally on this podcast because it's a short podcast, but I think that you really need to be honest with yourself about what you see as your most effective and highest way of helping, because the way what I'm hearing from you really is that helping, like, both maximize yourself and maximize the world really is speaking to you, and I assume it speaks to you in all areas of your life. But I think that sometimes when we are stuck in these problems, what we really need to do is get outside of ourselves. So it's actually kind of funny. So I wrote the clarity journal because I was stuck, and I was talking to a friend, and I was in a very similar place, that I was trying to figure out where I was going to go with my business. I had taken some time, not off, but I really had stripped down to the minimum, because and just was focusing on clients, because I had a small child who had lots of ear infections, was constantly out of daycare. Life just wasn't going super smoothly. And so she stopped me and she said, "Becca, you're a coach. What would you tell yourself?" And I wanted to hit her. But I got off the call and I wrote down every question I could think of that I helped other people use to have those aha moments. And as I was writing them, I then went back and started answering them for myself. And as I was answering them, I just realized how powerful it is. The thing that is powerful about coaching is having those questions being asked of you, and having
Yes.
your own brain create new connections and make new connections in order to figure out the answer, because the answer never comes from the coach. The answer comes from within. And I think that it's really easy for people to be like, "Oh, you're a coach, you have all the answers." Well, let me tell you, I had to edit the clarity journal. I don't even know how many times, but at least 5 times I went through it and read the whole thing top to bottom. And as I did it, I redid my answers to those questions. And each time I learned something new about myself. Each time
Yeah.
it helped me get out of my own head and really start gaining that clarity. And I think that getting out of your head, being asked those questions, however you do it, if you hire Zach, if you hire me, if you just pick
Hey.
up one, there's like a million journals. You don't have to pick up mine. But if you just type in journaling prompts into Google, I'm sure you'd find a lot of downloads. But getting out of your own head and really starting to look at that question in a different way helps your brain create those synapses that it needs to be expansive.
Right. Right. Uh, Great answer. Just being asked the questions makes you
Right.
think. It makes you think. And you said it so well. When I'm coaching clients, and I had 2 coaching calls today already, I just ask powerful, open ended questions and I listen. Right. And then I say, well, how could you be better? Or, well, what's stopping you from doing that? Or how would your life change if you accomplish all the things that you said you were going to do? And it just gets them to think. I am not a you should type person. I am never telling anybody what they should do. And no one knows what's best for other people. Only you know what's best for yourself. And sometimes it requires failures and sometimes it requires mistakes. But what's most important is that you're being challenged along the way through these deep, open ended questions. So you're absolutely right. So that's a practice that I'm going to have to work through, by myself. And I don't think that there's many better ways to do it than by working with your clarity journal, which people can buy on Amazon.com. To all the people that are listening on Apple and Spotify, you could check out all of Becca's resources, including her clarity journal, at BeccaRibbing.com. That's BECCARIBBING. You can also check her out on Instagram at Becca Ribbing, spelled exactly the same. To all the people that are watching on YouTube, I know this is a different background, but I appreciate you sticking around to the very end. I'm going to drop the link to Becca's website and Becca's journal below so you can easily get your hands on that. Becca, it was a pleasure talking to you today. I wish we had more time, but I know you're super busy and I got a lot of other podcasts to record today. Today's podcast day. So thank you so much. What are some last words you want to leave with the audience today?
Life's too short to put this off any longer. Like, whatever it is that you're struggling with, I have clients that are in their 60s still struggling with it. If you're listening to this today, get started today.
Yeah, now or never. Create urgency, right? Do what you got to do. Get unstuck. Becca, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Thank you so much.